All right, everybody, welcome back to the Nerd Rage Gaming Series MTGO Invitational. I'm Matt Bimonte. I'm joined by Simon Kamerow. Just taking a quick peek of our bracket so far. You can see the players that have moved on and some of the ones that are no longer with us. Tonight we'll be finishing off the blue portion of the bracket down here. So we'll have Harrison Rollins versus Will Krueger. Should be an interesting matchup here. We're going to have Storm versus Neoform. So a pair of combo decks, Simon.
Yeah, this is going to be like ships passing in the night. The question is, which one of these two ships is going full steam ahead? Sorry, I had to go for that
You're
one.
good.
But Storm, it's kind of defined by these 2-drop mana accelerants. They make each of your instants and sorceries cheaper, which allow you to make the desperate rituals into dark rituals. And then Past in Flames lets you cast all the spells again, generating a really high spell count, so Grape Shot gets copied 20 times and burns your opponent out all in one go.
Yeah, this is a deck that's existed for quite a while in Modern. It was one of the premier combo decks in the format. It's still pretty powerful, I think. It hasn't gotten any really great upgrades, though, in recent memory here, other than like Baral, Chief of Compliance.
Right, I think Baral is huge. It's hard to remember. This is the deck that got Seething Song banned back in the day, and this was one of the reasons why Ponder and Preordain had to go. Those are the cards that people used to play over Serum Visions and Sleight of Hand there.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's just a base blue-red deck, and it's kind of capitalizing on Manamorphose, but I think it's a pretty decent one, and we'll see if it serves Harrison well here.
Definitely.
All right, cool. And Harrison's going to be playing against Will Krueger, who just won our most recent NRG Series trial, and Will plays a ton of Modern, so it's interesting to see him on Neoform here. He usually sticks to like the Primeval Titan deck, so I don't know if there was some testing thing that led to this or what it was, but
well, I actually have a little bit of insider intel on that. I know that Will tested with Jack Cummins. They ended up on the same 75 of Neoform, and by tested, I'm going to put this politely, they theory crafted together and decided, yeah, they were going to put as much time into testing as they were expecting their average match to take. So they decided to register Neoform,
Very good. Okay, you can see Will there, 20 years old. Actually, Will started streaming quite a bit here too. xwhale_, if you want to look him up on Twitch. He's been doing the Modern PTQs. I've been watching some of them. He's been playing the Niv Mizzet deck, so interesting to see him shift to that instead of this deck. Will's 20 years old, from Elmhurst, 4 top 8s on our series with a W, as I mentioned previously. It says regular Modern trophy leader, which I alluded to earlier. Plays tons of Modern. Really kind of, was popularizing the Eldrazi Tron deck for a little while there.
Yeah, there are a lot of decks that I've come to associate with Will, and honestly, Neoform isn't any one of them, but I know he's a guy who's got a ton of range. So let's take a look at his deck list here.
All right, cool. So this deck kind of went crazy when, obviously Neoform is the card that got printed there. It's a weird smattering of cards, man, to be completely honest with you.
Yeah, weird.
It's super strange. So there's things that are accelerating your mana, like Simeon's Spirit Guide. You can see now there's 2 Veil of Summers in the main deck now.
Right.
Probably just for any sort of interaction that your opponent may have, you want to get rid of, as well as the Pact Negation, Eldritch Evolution, all these cards, and Summoner's Pact, obviously a big offender as well. And then obviously Gristlebrand is the way you gas back up, and you're able to rip through your deck rather quickly with this in this Neoform package.
No, it's a very strange looking deck, and here's a bunch of weird things about the way it's framed. So you've got Pact of Negation, which can really mess up the timing of Storm, especially because the Storm deck's best form of interaction game 1 is going to be Remand.
Right.
But also, speaking of Remand, there's Veil of Summer, and you know how Veil of Summer interacts with Gifts Ungiven. It gives you Hexproof, which counters the Gifts Ungiven.
Yeah, pretty annoying stuff. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. You mentioned this is 2 ships passing in the night and who goes quicker. And Neoform's like sometimes a turn 1 deck. More often than not, it's turn 2 or 3 deck. And we'll see. Being on the play, obviously going to be pretty important here in Modern, and especially in the combo mirror.
Yeah, if I had to give odds on this one, I would actually lean towards Storm. Okay. I'm not just overrating the power of Remand. I think that Serum Visions and Sleight of Hand are huge gains in a combo mirror like this.
Sure. Yeah, just a little bit more consistency to go along rather than sheer power.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's kick off game number 1 here. We'll see. Will is going to be on the play here, and it sounds like he took a mulligan down to 5, I believe, is where we're going to be at here.
Yeah, that sounds like Neoform.
Yeah. Yeah, just looking for like a very specific amount of cards. I mean, you only need a couple to go off, so you're kind of mulliganing, especially with the London mulligan now, has really helped these combo decks, in my opinion.
Well, the pressure of the deck is you only need a couple specific cards, but you do need a critical mass of green spells for your Allosaurus Rider. So every time you mulligan, you end up kind of adding just a random turn, hopefully just one turn to your combo.
Yep. And you see Harrison's hand looks pretty good. He's got several lands. Baral, you mentioned Remand being fairly important here. That's there. There's Pyretic Ritual and, the gifts to find whatever's missing. So pretty big fan of Harrison's hand. Looks like it's pretty due for a turn 4 kill at the latest.
Yeah, Harrison's making me look like I'm very smart. This is exactly what I was thinking about when I described his advantages in the matchup. So it'll be interesting to see if Will is able to punch through before Harrison's able to fully set up what this hand can do.
Yeah. All right, so they're going to get started here. As we mentioned, Will Krueger on top is going to go down to 5 cards. Leads off on a tapped Breeding Pool. Sends it to Harrison.
Okay. All right, well, that's a good draw for Harrison.
Yeah, Opt is, he didn't have a turn 1 play here, and Opt's going to be able to sculpt that hand a little bit more here. And Will has nothing.
And this is, I think, actually kind of entering the trouble zone for Will. I mean, if possible, Harrison, yeah, it makes sense to bottom the redundant mana accelerant there. But Harrison might not actually play anything. He might just keep up Remand, and then it looks like next turn he'll play Baral. Oh, no, it looks like he's going for just the Baral and to play this turn.
Okay, so he's going to go ahead and put that Baral in play. As you mentioned, you mentioned a line of leaving up Remand and, trying to stop from whatever Will's going to do here, which is pretty interesting, especially because Baral just gives you a discount next turn. So,
right, and now, I think if you had left up Remand, I don't know if Will would have been able to go for it. As is, he gets a really great 14 cards to try to win the game immediately.
Yeah, so he's going to go ahead and use that Eldritch Evolution on the Allosaurus Rider, put Gristlebrand into play, and draws 14 cards here, and...
yeah, just casual draw 14,
A lot of people I know want Gristlebrand banned again in all formats. How do you feel about something like that? Some weird statement.
I used to play a lot of Goblins in Legacy, and if you've ever registered multiple copies of Sting Scourger in your Legacy Goblins deck, you've definitely been open to the ban Gristlebrand in all formats, but it's never really what the problem is. The problem in this instance, I guess, Neoform maybe? I would just say the problem is this is just what Modern will always do. It will always make nonsense like this playable.
That is true. You see, in the chat, Harrison says, not what I was expecting. So maybe would have left Remand up if he had known.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean, if your opponent goes turn 1 Breeding Pool, turn 2 Botanical Sanctum, you might be thinking Infect or something like that.
Looks like Will's actually discarding cards here at his end step, at his cleanup phase. So
yeah, I think he's probably just done because it seems like it's a pretty elementary, ritual into some combination of Past in Flames and Grape Shot once Harrison gets to untap.
Yeah. Yeah, looks like it's going to be pretty clear for liftoff here. And another ritual.
I would say that Harrison's kind of getting away with something here, but honestly, this is one of the huge drawbacks of Neoform. It's just the least consistent version of a Belcher-style deck that I've ever seen, I mean, it's very powerful. It does its thing, but even when it does its thing, it doesn't necessarily always get what it wants.
Yeah, it is certainly Glass Cannon now. Will
this is a nice play.
Wow.
Will
fired
nice
off
play.
It looked like he had a Manamorphose.
Unfortunately.
Gets veiled.
Yeah, I think that the Remand is going to do wonders here. I would put the Remand back in my hand if I were Harrison.
All right, so.
Although I guess he's made his land drop for the turn, so he won't be able to recast the Gifts Ungiven.
Yeah,
oh!
Wow. Is that a second Veil, too?
Yeah, so he gets to cycle 2 copies of Veil of Summer, which is great.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's funny.
Yeah, now Baral gets to do its weird little looting. This would be a much harder stack to sort out in real life.
Yeah, so now Baral gets to, as you mentioned, whenever you counter a spell, you get to loot here, and I think he's actually just dead because he doesn't have blue available. And I believe he played the Chivalry for turn.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say that he's just dead because Will is only going to get, another, 8 cards or so to try to kill him.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I shouldn't count my chickens before they hatch. So.
Yeah, and, now if you're Will, it's like, well, what do you do? I mean, you've used both your Veil of Summers, so it's not like you're going to have any other ways of interacting. You have to go for it again, right?
Yeah, I think you do. I don't think you can possibly let your opponent untap with another Gifts Ungiven available.
I'll say this for the Neo brand deck. It just always makes it interesting. Even if the game is only going to last like 4 turns, they're 4 very weird, interesting turns. Here we go. Here comes a Tocton Warren for the old gain 14 or 15, right?
Yeah, I'm going to gain a bunch of life. And we're going to go ahead and draw some more cards.
Oh, here comes an excellent question in chat from Harrison. Are you deterministic? I don't think this deck can be deterministic.
I don't think so either.
I have no idea.
Unless there's a million worms.
Yeah. I know there's conditions by which it can't use its combo kill, and that's generally speaking once it uses too many copies of Simian Spirit Guide.
Yeah.
But at this point, that's not a concern at all. And, Will's at 21, so I think pretty cleanly this game is probably over. But yeah, I like that from Will, being honest and saying, no, it's not technically closed.
So he's going to go ahead and Nourishing Shoal twice.
Okay, now it might be.
All right, so let's get to the sideboards here. So you can see all 15 cards each player has access to here. There's some pretty interesting ones on each side of the table here. But, I know these Storm decks, you mentioned, against like Infect and things. Harrison's probably looking for that matchup. He's got a bunch of Bolts and Dismembers, and that's pretty good for him. Aria Flame is one of those newer cards that just came out that, helps Storm, against people that have, if someone has Flusterstorm in their deck. I know I played at Regionals about a month ago at this point.
Flusterstorm is legal. I always forget.
Yeah, I had Flusterstorm in my deck, and I was like, man, please let me find a Storm player.
Of course, that's all you want. That's why you put it in the deck. Who's playing Storm now, you say?
Exactly. So what it looks like here that Harrison does is brings in a couple Spell Pierce and then Ignite Memories, and then just removes 2 of the Sleight of Hands and an Empty the Warren. So Spell Pierce is obviously good.
I love Ignite Memories in a matchup like this because what it lets you do is it lets you convert random rituals plus Ignite Memories into a shot at killing your opponent. This Neo brand deck is full of 7 and 8 drops. So if you Ignite Memories for like 3, there's a pretty decent shot the game ends right there.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I like that, and obviously the cheap counterspell is very good against very early plays that Will has access to.
Yeah.
So on Will's side, there's Pact of Negation. Man, there's 3 more Pact of Negations. There's 2 more Veil of Summers, and there's other things like Leyline of Sanctity is interesting always against Storm for me because it shuts off one of their kill conditions. But they also have like Wipeaways and things like that typically in the sideboard, but you don't see here on Harrison's side.
No, I think it's the kind of... I was talking about this when we covered Jack Cummins' match. I was talking about this with Joe, and I think one of the problems with Leyline is that you're adding a weird element of inconsistency to a already inconsistent deck. And so it's tough to really want to commit to drawing that card for the cards you get every match, from the Neoform player's seat.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's an already inconsistent deck, and then Leyline just adds another wrinkle of, it's not something you're really looking for.
Right.
At any rate, Will brings in the other 2 Veils. We saw just how powerful they were there in game number 1. Veil of Summer's obviously very good. I was surprised none of the Pact Negations came in, but he did not bring those in. Just the 2 Veils in. He removed the Life Goes On, and then we didn't catch what the second card was, but he did only remove those 2 cards.
Yeah, I could see it being maybe something like Safe Right Quest, just another one of the kind of filler cards, or maybe a redundant copy of a combo piece that he went lower on.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's jump into game number 2 here, and Harrison's going to be on the play, and his deck's obviously very good on the play. Looks like Will takes another mulligan down to 6 here, which is just, again, a symptom of this deck. One of those things that you just kind of got to fight through when you're playing it There's going to be plenty of mulligans, but your deck is very powerful.
Yeah. And what was interesting is that last game, Harrison was started with what I thought was a really good and interactive hand, and it just did not line up well the way the game played out.
Yeah. Yeah, I wonder how different that game looks if he does hold up Remand instead of playing Baral on turn 2.
Right. Does Will feel confident going for it there? Because if he goes for it, he basically just discards 2 cards, which would be horrible,
Yeah.
But it's obviously a tough situation, and hindsight is 20/20, as they say. I think this kind of development, though, is pretty great for Harrison, as he gets to just kind of build up his cards in hand. We might see an end-of-turn Gifts Ungiven here if he's feeling a little frisky.
Yeah, I'm with you. Harrison's pretty content just to make land drops until he finds one of his mana dorks, and he's got Spell Pierce and Remand available.
Yeah, I guess it's tough for him to make too much action because he has to be really afraid of Veil of Summer blowing out gifts, as that's his big way to go up on cards.
Right.
Sometimes you'll see Storm players kind of cycle a Manamorphose in this position just to look for something more proactive to do. But with 3 mana worth of interaction, maybe he just wants to hold up his cards.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. I think Manamorphose could be good here. Even if you draw something like Opt. And here comes a Summoner's Pact for Will.
Well, this probably has just one target. There you go.
Yeah. Gonna go snag Allosaurus Rider, one of those important pieces of combo.
Yeah, let's see if this gets remanded. It doesn't. Interesting.
Okay. That stays. Simeon's Spirit Guide getting pitched, and this looks like it's going to be...
that's a great target for Remand.
Yeah.
Or Spell Pierce. Yeah.
Either one's great.
Oh, here comes the main deck Pact of Negation. Here comes the Remand on the Eldritch Evolution.
Yeah. And I mentioned Will not bringing in those... Oh, wow. He just has another
looks
pact.
like we were a little out of touch on what he boarded in. Pact of Negation looking great in multiples.
Does he have 2 packs? No, he just has 1 pact in the main deck. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So he must have brought in that other pact of negation. Okie dokie.
All right. Well,
there's a Gristlebrand to play again.
Now, you asked me at the start of this match, should Gristlebrand be banned in all formats? I want to clarify that was at the start of the match. None of these packs are going to be paid for. And then once you see 3 packs that aren't going to be paid for, something has got... 4 packs that haven't been paid for. Yeah, something has got to go. And maybe now it is Gristlebrand.
Yeah, Gristlebrand, or maybe the 0 mana cards could be banned too. I don't know. 0 mana seems pretty fair for a spell.
And now, also to be fair, I mean, I'm not trying to talk trash about Harrison here, because I don't think he did anything particularly wrong. But I think we just saw very, very good draws for how the match played out for Will with very minimal card selection. Even the elements they put of card selection in this deck of Glittering Wish. Those didn't really come up in either match. He just drew good hands because he has such a powerful, proactive deck that only needs a piece or 2 of interaction to force through.
Yep. Yeah, and the double pact negation was just what he ordered. Just 5 packs? Was it 4 packs cast this turn?
I believe it's now 5, right? Because the first Summoner's Pact to get the Allosaurus right, and then these other ones are just getting creatures in exile now at this point.
Yeah, and... Will's going to be able to draw his entire deck. He's got 11 cards left and 13 life, which basically going to draw his entire deck. He's going to leave 4 cards left. And I assume Lab Maniac's coming.
In trouble.
Has he played Let's see what he's got. I was wondering, has he played a land this turn?
Yeah. He hasn't played a land this turn, and he also has one more...
Mana.
Right, but also one more copy of Nourishing Shoal in his deck.
Yeah, he should be good here.
There it is.
So Lab Maniac's going to end up killing Harrison, and that's going to be the match there. So Will Krueger on Neoform glass cannons his way through a couple games there against Storm.
I honestly, kudos to Will. I've never seen the Neoform deck really do its thing that consistently. Yeah. But obviously, when it does its thing, it's extremely explosive.
Yeah, that was pretty cool to watch. Game 2, I thought was going to be pretty uphill based on Harrison's hand with Spell Pierce and Remand, and just double packed. All right, see you later was pretty impressive.
Well, but it also kind of showed that one of the disadvantages of the Storm deck is that it really does lean on those 2-mana creatures to cheat in terms of mana production. There's a lot more that Harrison can do, but that really starts with him having Brawler, Goblin, Electromancer in play.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you. All right, well, that's going to wrap up that match. So we want to send a special thank you to KMC, our awesome sponsor here. If you want to check out any of their products, make sure facebook.com/KMC Sleeves. You can also check them out on Instagram at KMC_sleeves_USA. If you need top loaders, some hypermats, some mini hypermats, anything like that, they got you covered. Pretty awesome deal for them. Big thanks to them for sponsoring our tournament series, which is kind of on a hiatus now with the things going on, but trying to bring you some coverage at least. So
yeah.
And then if you want to check out any singles, if you want to buy Neoform cards, like I mean, who has Autochon Worms just hanging out? You might. I don't.
No, I don't.
If you want to buy some Neoform cards and try out Will's awesome deck from this tournament here, you can check out singles and more. NerdAgeGaming.com. We got all kinds of stuff. Still sending out orders. Even in the midst of, the coronavirus stuff that's going on, we're still able to ship out orders. So if you want to get on there, feel free. We will send them to you as soon as possible. Man, so these are our top 8 players, man. It's pretty good. We'll fire off the Hunger Games cannon for the grayed out players 8 times.
Yeah, would you mind if I hum taps for a little bit while you give them their outro?
So we got, just to recap who we got Justin Brickman, Will Krueger, David Lamb, Zoe Reederman, TJ Rogers, Phil Silverman, Blair Splett, and John Philip Whetstone all moving into the top 8. I am excited to see some more matches and watch these decks in action.
Yeah, we've got a really cool mix of aggressive decks in the top 8. We've also got, some Mook playing Bant Snow, but definitely a nice mix of interesting archetypes brought to the table here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to watch the rest. So, at any rate, thanks everybody for hanging out with me and Simon tonight. We're going to get out of here, and we hope to see you for the next one.
Take care.